Right, thanks mate. Hello there. Now let's say you're a high net worth individual who's in a fortunate position of buying yourself a stylish luxury SUV for the daily. Now you probably want one from the only brand that counts for the most, and I'm talking about Range Rover. But you may be facing a certain problem. One, the Range Rover Evoque could be a little too overrated, and two, perhaps the Range Rover Sport is a little too overpowered. Well, fortunately for you, the folks at Range Rover have heard your cries and they've answered by creating something to slot in between those two, and I'm talking about this, the Range Rover Velar. Now I'm going to give you a quick tour of what the Velar is all about. Follow me. Now the first thing you might notice with the Range Rover Velar from the outside, especially in this P250R Dynamic variant, is just how stylishly neat it is. The designers at Range Rover have gone to great extents to keep the clean lines, right down to installing stowaway door handles and foot sills, which I will demonstrate. Now how neat is that? Now, as you'd expect of an SUV of this size and price range, the Range Rover Velar does come with a lot of toys and is very luxurious inside here. For instance, there's keyless entry, and unlike most other SUVs, the way this thing starts up is pretty neat. Just watch the screen and the shift selector knob. That's pretty neat. So as I mentioned, it's very luxurious here. There's a lot of plush leather, not just on the seats but on the dash, as well as there's some brushed aluminium panels and gloss black accents, just to give you that premium look and feel. However, I think Range Rover did miss the mark here somehow, because at some point you will notice some of the cheap hard plastics here, like down here in the footrest. But that is no deal breaker, given just how neat everything is laid out and presented. It is also very tech laden. For instance, I'm not greeted by one or two, but 3 digital screens altogether. The first one is right here in the driver instrument panel, and it's fully digital, fully customizable. You could change to a few layouts present, and what I've got here is 2 dials and a navigation display in the middle. You move over to the center console, you have 2 more screens. The one at the top controls the infotainment and reverse camera, while the one at the bottom controls things like the climate control and the terrain response system or drive mode selector. Now, there is a few quirks here still. For instance, these touchscreens, they are magnet for fingerprints, and if you're a clean freak like me, it might be handy to keep something like this microfiber towel within reach just to get rid of all those fingerprints. Huzzah! So overall, life in the front area of the cabin is not bad, but wait till you see what it's like being driven in the back seat. Now, if you're the sort of person who likes to be driven, then you're in for the treat, because the Velar is not a bad place to be in the back seat. First and foremost, there's electric powered reclinable seat backs. So getting comfortable here is not a problem at all. Speaking of comfort, because of our weather, you'll be glad to know that the back seat also comes with 2 rear air conditioning vents to keep yourself cool and whatnot. And while you're here, you also get to enjoy another treat that this cabin has to offer, and I'm talking about this, the optional panoramic glass roof. Now, isn't that a treat? Well, this being an SUV, there's one last area we need to cover, and we're talking about practicality. Let me show you what I'm talking about in the back. Now, this being an SUV, the last bit that needs to be addressed is practicality, and this Range Rover Velar excels in that particularly. Right, thanks mate. So as I said, this Velar excels in the practicality bit very well because there's 558 litres of boot space, and that's with both seats still up at the back. You could load probably more if you brought them down. So there you have it, that's the Velar inside. What's it like to drive? Well, let's find out. Right, first things first, you've got to know the Range Rover Velar despite its big size on the outside, it's got a relatively small engine, as how most of these modern cars do. It's actually a 2-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol that makes 246 horsepower and 365 Newton meters of torque. Now all that is driven to all 4 wheels using an intelligent all-wheel drive system and JLR's very own 8-speed automatic. More importantly, this being a Range Rover, it has the actual Range Rover off-roading DNA, and all you have to do is just twist this knob in the terrain response system to get the right mode. Like right now, we're on a bit of soft terrain, some grass, so it's only fair that I move from comfort to grass, gravel and snow program. So let's see how this car handles in the rough, shall we? Well, it's not too bad now, isn't it? Also worth highlighting is that this Velar comes equipped with the optional dynamic dampers, so it makes life on any surface a lot nicer too. Now with the intelligent torque split, power is sent to either equally front-rear, or more front or more rear, or exclusively front and rear depending on the situation, and it does all that on the fly. Now, if you're going to spend most of your time driving this car, you'll be glad to know that there are a lot of nice toys that will make any long-distance drives much more bearable and pleasant. Well, for starters, there's a crisp-sounding 17-speaker Meridian sound system. You know, you could play your tunes and they'll sound really great on this system. More importantly though, there are some driver assist systems here, like cruise control and a very neat intelligent lane keep assist function. Also, just to add a sense of occasion to the drive, there's a neat heads-up display on my windscreen here as well. So overall, if you're going to drive this car, it's not going to be an unpleasant experience. Far from it, it'll be very, very dynamic and refined to say the least. Now, talk about refinement. As far as drive dynamics go, the Velar, well, it's not the sharpest tool in Range Rover's shed. I believe that title belongs to something like the Range Rover Sport SVR. By no means is this car far from dull to drive. So it's very nice and precise with the steering, especially in comfort. But should you switch things up to dynamic mode, things liven up quite a bit. This is where you get to access the entire power band available. The steering wheel firms up a little bit with more weight, better feedback, and the dynamic dampers firmed up as well, so you get better feedback from the chassis too. In other words, in dynamic mode, you do some sporty driving. But really, dynamic driving isn't the forte of the Velar. Instead, the forte for this SUV is when you put the terrain and drive mode into comfort. And that's where you get to enjoy this car's very, very refined character. You know, note how low the NVH is. NVH is in noise, vibration and harshness. It definitely is a cabin you want to be in over long periods, especially in a jam or long distance drives.
Bang, 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 kick down the door like yeah. Bang, bang, bang.
Oh yes, the Range Rover Velar has one last neat party trick up its sleeve. And we're talking about its configurable ambient interior lighting feature. It allows you to vary the color and shade to change the ambiance of the cabin to suit your mood, with 10 colors to choose from, ranging from ice white through to moonlight and racing red.
Bang, bang, bang. I'm dynamite. I'm a force to be reckoned with. Bang, 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 bang.
So there you have it. The Range Rover Velar, especially in this R-Dynamic trim as featured, drives as well as it looks, both on and off the pavement. Is this probably the best way to spend just under 600,000 ringgit? Perhaps, but you can't argue in its class and price and size segment. This is probably the classiest and poshest offering out there. Now, to find out more about the Range Rover Velar, visit topgear.com.my and firstclasse.com.my. Until then, I'm signing off.